Hi, and welcome to the next part in the Operation Alpha lifestyle series. So today I'm going to go into a subject which represents one of the four pillars of health that we talk about in Operation Alpha. Those being training, nutrition, sleep, and today, stress. Plague of modern living, which we're all probably very familiar with in terms of the way it affects us, but maybe not necessarily to the full extent of how that can manifest itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline exactly what stress does, and then I'm actually going to go into some genuinely effective techniques that you can use to manage your stress and therefore counteract some of this nasty stuff over here. So first we'll go into the effects. So the thing with stress, first to realize, is that stress is a hormonal response. It's not just some esoteric kind of emotional thing. It is actually a physical response within the body. There are stress hormones that are released when you are stressed. Now, this can be a positive thing because in certain situations you need to be alert, and you even need in a primal way to be ready to avoid danger, and that's what we call an acute release of stress, where it comes and it goes. Now, where it's negative is when you are continuously facing challenges without any relief, and that is uninterrupted stress or chronic stress. I'm sure you're probably aware of that term. So the key here is continuous and uninterrupted. Yeah, so no interruptions to the stressful challenges that you're facing. So the physical effects of chronic stress, quite a lot over here. So we have low energy, headaches, upset stomach, digestive problems, insomnia, frequent illness like picking up colds, aches and pains and tension within the body, raised blood pressure, chest pains and raised heart rate, loss of libido, not a good thing. And the other thing which you're probably aware of as well, there's plenty of research to suggest that chronic stress can bring on or worsen diseases such as diabetes, asthma, arthritis, and also skin problems. So these are all things that you may have experienced or you weren't necessarily aware of, but to a certain extent, I'm sure some of this possibly rings a bell. Now, there are emotional symptoms of chronic stress as well. Among these is being excessively irritable, feeling frustrated and general moodiness, low self-esteem, feelings of overwhelm and feeling a loss of control, difficulty relaxing and quieting your mind, and also depression and anxiety. So you can see that there are some pretty serious emotional effects from chronic stress that can go into having a detrimental effect on your mental health in quite a serious way as well. In terms of effects of behavior, so what do people typically do when they're experiencing chronic stress? Well, a lot of people turn to alcohol, tobacco, and maybe even drugs to try and manage their stress levels. Now, the problem with this is, you're probably aware of the problems, but actually, if we're talking just purely in terms of stress, these are things that if they're used in this way, in an unhealthy way, they'll actually create a different or more stress. So you're not really getting the uninterrupted, the interruption or relief with regards to stress that you need. Other ways that it can affect your behavior is overeating or undereating. So, people can use food as a drug to sort of self-medicate, or, conversely, they could find that they have loss of appetite. And obviously you can see both of these are things which are not supportive of your overall health, or indeed if you have training goals as well. Other symptoms, angry outbursts. This can be a symptom of excessive chronic stress, and also exercising less often is a classic symptom as well. So here's all the symptoms. What can we do about it? So I'm just going to move this over. very high-tech and sophisticated setup I've got over here. Let's just take this over. And hopefully we can see this. Okay, good. Right, so here are some genuinely effective stress management techniques. And I say genuinely because a lot of people, in my experience, don't really seem to think that they can really do much about their stress. There's a kind of helplessness around it, and almost a feeling that it's not really possible to do much. And the thing is, it is. And it all comes back to what I mentioned before in terms of continuous challenges without relief. Now, what we're looking for over here is to interrupt the stress with daily rituals and processes. And, you know, if you need to relate this in a very kind of physical and scientific sense, we're talking about the hormones, yeah? So it's not just, you know, kind of spiritual type stuff. It is actually something that has a physical effect, although, you know, there's something to be said for spirituality as well, but that's a different matter. So, when people tend to say, you know, meditation or breathing exercises or yoga, you know, depending on who you're talking to, they could sort of, you know, tut and say, well, I'm not doing that. That's not really my bag. But if we start to think about it in a hormonal sense, this starts to make sense, right? Because, you know, you think about what is going on when you're doing these types of activities, when you're fully engrossed in them. It's the complete opposite of being stressed, right? So it's taking everything down, the energy, quietening your mind, and actually that has a physical effect as well. A really good app if you're not into meditation or, you know, it's not something that you've done before, the Headspace app. I think they have a 10-day free trial. Really recommend that. It's a guided meditation app. Check it out, see what you think. Another thing that's good is good nutrition. Obviously that's going to help from a physical point of view. Combating the physical health issues that you can get from stress. And actually the activity of cooking itself, if you can see it as an opportunity to be mindful and engross yourself in what you're doing, you can switch your brain off from the things in your life that are creating stress, and it can become a 2-in-1, taking care of your nutrition and also doing a mindful activity that helps from a mental point of view. Another thing is better time management. Sounds like a bit of a cliche, but, you know, again, taking a genuinely proactive approach towards managing your time better might lead to you not feeling quite so overwhelmed and more in control and therefore less stress. The next is sufficient rest and sleep. And you can see the connection here between two of the pillars of health, sleep and stress. They're bedfellows, no pun intended. And with sleep, it's the same thing as stress. It's something that you need to improve proactively and not get into this mindset where you're just letting it happen to you, poor sleep that is, or just hoping that it improves. Because unfortunately, like most things in life, it just doesn't seem to work that way. The next thing you could do is identify exactly, you know, very specifically the sources of your stress in a very specific way. And again, seek to improve them proactively, which does not mean that you can necessarily remove them, but rather than just saying, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's like, you know, taking a truly proactive approach to somehow improving it. Another thing that you can do, which is very, very important, is talking to people about this, yeah? So your friends, your family, and even considering getting a therapist. You know, if we've got something wrong with our body, we'll go and see a doctor. If we've got something with wrong with our mind, all of a sudden there's some sort of stigma or taboo connected to it, which is just absurd in my opinion. If you need help, there's no shame in it. If it's going to improve the quality of your life, then why not do it? Another thing is setting limits and boundaries that support your health. And that's both in a physical and a mental point of view, with the understanding that if you do that, all the stuff that you allow to get in the way, your work, your family life, etc., all of that's going to benefit too. So you can always bring it back to that as a motivation if that's what motivates you. So the last thing that you can do, obviously a health and fitness professional, I know I would say this, but bear with me, exercise daily, yeah? And by that, probably above everything else, I would say make sure you walk daily, because obviously that's going to be supportive of your physical health. But if you're doing it without technology and getting outside, very, very good way to again down-regulate the hormones and bring the stress levels down. Lifting weights, playing sport, and even doing cardio. Now the whole key to all of this stuff as well is doing it with a mindful approach, where you are fully engrossed in what you're doing, completely taking in and focusing on what you're doing, not thinking about work, not thinking about the other stuff that's stressing you out, and instead seeing this as an opportunity to interrupt the stress that's going on in your life. Okay, so that wraps that up. If you have any feedback or questions, you can email me at wolfpack-alpha.com.